I'm Bria Maranthus with Mike Fisher. We're at Dallas Cowboys headquarters here in Frisco, Texas, and OTAs are underway, which means we have a lot to talk about. But of course, we have to start with quarterback Dak Prescott, who says he feels ready to go, but does he look ready to go?
Yeah, and you start with quarterback, obviously, on any team, no matter the circumstance. But on this team, given where we've been for the last 7 months,
Right.
Given where they know they can't go without Dak Prescott, he's obviously the centerpiece of the football team and the conversation. I think maybe in the very start of Tuesday's workout, there was maybe a little tiny bit of tentativeness. The same way, when you sprain your ankle, then first time you're back on a basketball court, you don't run as fast as you will in a minute.
Right.
There might have been that for a moment. But otherwise, he did almost everything, including some 7-on-7 stuff. I was looking for him. Is he stepping into throws,
Right.
which he did? Is he throwing on the run and planting on both feet and all that, which he absolutely did?
Wow.
And then, was there any chuck and duck? The thing where nobody's hitting him,
Right.
but guys are kind of coming at
little
you,
fearful.
and you're kind of like, and there was none of that.
Good.
And so, I believe him when he says, if the Cowboys had a real game this Sunday,
Right.
I believe him when he says
He'd be ready to go.
he'd play and play well and finish and probably be successful.
Right. So I was reading your notes from Inside the Star, and one of the things you said was that he had a prolonged warm-up. What did that look like?
Yeah, there's going to be 3 changes maybe in the way he does his business. One of them is going to be being really in tune with his body before a practice and before a game. And we know the rituals that he goes through before games now, and all the quarterbacks do there. But his is going to be very much about stretching and warming it up, the ankle, and making sure everything feels just right.
Right.
The second
Sort of
aspect,
preventative.
yeah, preventative medicine without any medicine.
Right.
The second thing will be take a day off, and so on the Wednesday of this OTA group, he is off inside the building, and probably doing mental reps, certainly on the field, but not doing any work. Take that day off. You've proven enough for a day. And the third component of this is the ramp up will go all the way to training camp. So full 11-on-11, jumping over people and running quarterbacks, and all that's not going to happen in this spring. Won't happen until we get to Oxnard in late July.
Well, I was going to ask you about a whole bunch of other players, but I have one more about Dak, because obviously his leadership is so important to this team. And it does feel like, because his season was cut short last season, maybe he's got a little extra juice this season. Can you feel that? Can you see that? Are there any instances of that?
Part of it is he's just human, so like any of us, when we have something taken away from us,
means more.
Yeah, we cherish it all the more.
Right.
And then there is something that's unique about Dak Prescott, and maybe going for a $160 million contract is part of the motivation there. But I believe that he probably rehabbed harder and faster and better than a normal person.
Right.
Because he's built a little different than a normal person as a football player. And then you combine that with the enthusiasm around him.
Yeah.
And I think this team has the right to think that they had their season taken away. Now, could they have won some games without Dak Prescott? Yeah.
Should they have? Yes.
Should they have? Yeah. But the life got sucked out of them when their guy got taken away. And so you don't get a real mulligan.
Yeah.
You still finish 6-10, but in your mind you can say, you know what? Let's just erase that one and start over this year with what we think is a contending team, and they do think that.
Okay, so one of the major things from last season was backup quarterback. So let's talk about their options now. And is it looking like it's going to be Gilbert? Is he emerging as, okay, this is our true number 2?
Gilbert in the OTAs looked like he was the second guy.
Okay.
Now that can change. Maybe they rotate around at times when we're not putting eyeballs on it.
Right.
And I know Gilbert has some fans in the building, and I know he has some fans in Cowboys Nation too, because he played that game against the Steelers and looked like a respectable quarterback.
Yeah.
But let's not overrate that. The Steelers were playing poorly at the time, and he didn't do anything well. It's just that he didn't screw anything up as badly.
At that time, that's all Cowboys fans really wanted.
Right. He got a passing grade for that. I mean, what do you give him, a D+? I mean, he didn't really do anything. It's just that he didn't pull a Ben DiNucci. He didn't fail. He didn't cost him the game. Ben DiNucci, Mike McCarthy says, looks better.
Yeah.
And so he's grown. And then Cooper Rush, who the coach I don't believe did mention, also in the building. I think the Cowboys are showing their hand when they have Brett Hundley come in here and have a visit, even though they didn't sign him. When they have Jeff Driscoll come in here and he ends up signing with Houston. I think those are signs that, well, these guys are great, but we've got our eye on a prettier girl over here.
Right, for sure. Okay, let's talk about the pretty girl on the field, Ezekiel Elliott. He's come in with a slimmer physique.
Yeah.
How is Zeke looking at OTAs?
So he on Tuesday was not a participant, and so we didn't see him on the field. That caused some people in Cowboys Nation to go, "Oh, what?" But he was there Monday, be there Wednesday.
Right.
He's a full participant.
These are quote unquote voluntary.
Correct. And so I presume that he was in the building or eating lunch or getting a haircut, and had a day off of sorts. So nothing to panic about on Ezekiel Elliott. And you're right about what we think we see in terms of just his frame.
Yeah.
He looks slimmer in the middle.
Yeah, which you got to wonder how that's going to impact the running game.
Right. And maybe, a lot of guys will play with their body. The most famous one for me is Jerry Rice, who would talk about, I'm going to play 2 pounds heavier this year. I usually play at 205 and I'm going to play at 207. And you're like, you can really feel that?
Yeah.
But if you do that for a living, you can.
Right.
Des Bryant did the same thing. He'd say,
2 pounds of muscle is a lot.
That's correct. And so Ezekiel Elliott toying with the idea maybe of being a little bit lighter, and then we'll see how it goes. Keeping in mind, and you know this, if you go stand next to Ezekiel Elliott, he's a huge guy.
Right.
He's not, he's not 6'5", but I mean, his head, it's almost as big as mine is. Right. so he's going to be a big man. But yes, he in videos and stuff, he looks more scat-backy, and like he's working on that to the benefit of the Cowboys offense.
Right, and one of the most interesting things I thought that came from Mike McCarthy was saying that rookie wide receiver Simi Fehoko would actually end up, did I say that right, Fehoko?
Yep.
Okay, I nailed that. That he might actually push some of the veteran receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper. What was your take on Simi?
He's big enough, and he's fast enough, and he's smart enough.
Wow.
You notice him on the field. And
interesting.
Yeah, and I've told the story that the minute after they drafted him, I got a text from inside the building saying he's big, he's faster than you think, and he beats his man.
Wow.
So he can win matchups with his size. Now, the number of young guys who have come in here as rookies who weren't premium draft picks, sometimes free agents, and especially big ones, right? Oh, that guy's going to make a big difference. Then the next thing you know, we get to training camp. He has a couple drops. He gets cut, goes on the practice squad, and we never hear from him again. Noah Brown is still around here. Right. But he hadn't done anything. It seems like he's been here for 5 years. He hasn't done anything yet. They've got Vasher from Texas Tech, who's 6'6", wide receiver. So you notice these guys, but to catch up with the Amaris, the CeeDee Lambs, the Gallups, and we should mention Cedric Wilson, who's now wearing jersey number 1. Right. And boy, do you stand out when you wear jersey number 1. He looked very good in OTAs too. So a lot of catching up to do for any rookie.
Right. But how would you, or what do you make of Dak texting Simi and saying, hey, we're going to get it this year?
The question that we need to ask Dak is, was that the only guy that you sent a text to?
Right, or
saying,
was it to all the rookies?
Right. Or all the receivers, or all the offensive players, or something. I think it would be a little out of character, frankly, with all due respect to Simi, that Dak Prescott, that he's the only, of all the guys, he's the only guy that's going to light up the league, when the fact is, he's probably realistically in a battle to be the 5th wide receiver.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about the rookies, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Is there anybody in OTAs that you're like, oh my gosh, this guy is going to make an impact right away, or possibly even start this season?
Let's go position groups. Let's start with the secondary, where, and we can do newcomers, rookies, whatever, or guys that are new to their position, even though they're old. Reggie Robinson made the play of the OTA practice. He's chasing a Michael Gallup route. The ball is coming this way, and he's got to leave his feet and time it just right, and track the ball, and then athletically and intelligently flick it away. And he did that. It was outstanding.
Wow.
Nashawn Wright set himself up for a pick 6, so he jumped a route. He dropped the ball, but he did things intellectually right to get there.
Yeah. So almost.
Yeah, almost. The Atlanta free safety, DeMonte KZ, he looked like he got like all the snaps at free safety. So he looks like he's that guy.
Wow.
New number for Donovan Wilson. He'll wear number 6 as he tries to hang on to the job. Curse who's been in the league for a few years, and he's kind of a special. He's a gigantic guy. With Detroit and Minnesota, never quite did much besides special teams. He got some snaps at free safety. At linebacker, Micah is obviously the talk of the town.
Yeah.
But Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch were the premium guys.
So how did Micah Parsons compare to those two?
Yeah, I mean, and he got middle linebacker stuff, but he got it after they did. Now,
which is to be expected.
I think so too. I recall last year at the start of training camp, there was all kinds of veterans who were on the first team the first day, including, remember, Clinton Dix.
Right.
Second day he was cut.
Yeah.
And so it's awfully early. Micah Parsons eventually will be in the mix. Jabril Cox obviously was involved, but was not involved on a first team level. And then defensive lineman, the guy that everybody's looking for right away is the Kentucky big guy, Quentin Bohanna. And I'm a little concerned that the Cowboys, because they do hype things around here.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, that even the newcomer, Dan Quinn, very first day, like minutes after he was drafted, we hold a press conference here, and he's talking about how this guy's going to, kind of saying he's going to start.
Right.
Certainly if they're in a 3-4. That's not ideal.
Yeah.
He's a 6th-round rookie from Kentucky who did not really make plays at Kentucky. He stuffs the run. He occupies blockers. So that's a name to watch. Oh. I don't yet know if it's a body to watch.
Right, very interesting. All right, well, we've got so much more on OTAs. Make sure you go to cowboyssi.com.